friends. Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello. So today's video, we're just gonna do a tag, guys. We're just doing a tag. I saw this tag on Teresa Is Dead's channel, who I'm gonna link down below because I love her. This tag was created by Allie Glines and Samantha March here on YouTube, who I will also have linked down below along with Teresa. All channels I love, all channels I'd recommend go checking out. But I'm really excited about this. I feel like tags haven't been a thing for a minute. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of tags going around, and I was genuinely really excited about this one because I'm pretty sure it's from a TikTok trend. And I love this TikTok trend. I almost did it on my TikTok, but I'm scared of making TikToks because I don't want to seem bad. I'm gonna have all the questions linked down below. We're just talking about eyeshadow palettes today. This is my favorite thing to do because eyeshadow palettes are some of my favorite things. So the very first palette, I'll have all of these palettes linked down below, by the way. The very first question is your newest palette. So the newest one you've bought. And
boy, is this a doozy.
I actually recently bought two palettes at the same time, and I bought both of the Pat McGrath new palettes. So the Rose 1 and the Rose 2, basically. If you guys know, there's a little bit of history because I bought the Rose 1 and it never came. I bought it like months ago when it first came out, and it was either stolen or it got lost in the mail or something happened, and then Pat McGrath didn't answer my emails for like 2 months, and then I talked about it on my channel and you guys were like, sis, please get a refund. So I did. I got a refund, and now I rebought it after getting that refund. I was a little annoyed about the whole customer service issue, but at the same time, it was during COVID, so obviously there was a lot going on. I can understand if my stuff got like pushed to this whatever reason, and I do still love Pat McGrath as a brand, so I was like, you know what, we're just gonna rebuy it. I got the money back, whatever. So I was able to get the first Mothership Rose palette, the original one, in the pink packaging, which I so prefer. Like, I am so happy they offered an option for not the standard black packaging. This is just so pretty. I love pink. I love the color pink. If you can't tell, everything in this freaking room is pink. Like, I love the color pink, so I was really excited that I was able to get this one. I wasn't able to get this one, but like, I don't care that much. I just think it's a cute little touch. So I'm really excited. So this is the 5. I'm actually wearing a mixture of these two palettes on my eyes today. I feel like this palette is not done proper justice until you shine a flashlight on it. Same thing with the other one, but I feel like this one in particular looks very boring. I hope I don't look dumb while I do this. But then you shine a flashlight on it, and does it still look boring? I don't know. But you shine a flashlight on it and it turns into this like transformative, beautiful shadow palette. So I'm really, really excited about this. And then as I said, I did get both. So I got the newer one too. This one's really fun. It's kind of funny because I think if you were to compare the two, I didn't think I was gonna feel this way, but I would actually really recommend this one over this one. This one just packs so much punch. There's so many fun colors in here. Such a like different palette. I do feel like I probably could have duped some of these shades, definitely not all of them, but some of them I could have duped. But this one, I think it really, really packs a punch and is super, super nice. Yeah, I'm really excited about these. I was super hyped that I was able to actually get them because I know launch day is always kind of crazy for Pat McGrath. I'm probably gonna do a Talktorial Tuesday in the next couple of weeks with these, if that's something you guys would want to see. So just like keep an eye out for that because I'm definitely going to use these. Okay, the next one is my oldest palette. Technically, this is not my oldest palette because I did get rid of this and then rebuy it. But technically, if I'm thinking about like palettes I bought in order, I believe this was the 3rd or 4th eyeshadow palette I ever bought. So I wanted to include this in here, even though technically this is a new palette because I recently rebought it. But I've had the Tartelette in Bloom palette in my collection since like the beginning. So this is definitely one of my oldest palettes. I will never forget buying this because it was the first time I went into Sephora and actually bought makeup. I had gone into Sephora to look around and I had bought stuff online, but I had never like gone into the store and bought things. And I bought this and the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. And I remember, I think I bought a gloss too. And I remember getting home and just like staring at this palette because I had never seen an eyeshadow palette that had packaging that was this pretty and like metal, and like it was so cool back in like 2016. No, I actually still stand by that this is a really solid palette. That's why I rebought it. This was a go-to everyday eyeshadow palette for me. It It is obviously very boring, but when I was in college, especially I remember when I was first starting back at community college, this was my like everyday palette because I would just throw like this white shade. It's really hard to show on camera because it's so reflective, but I would just put this white shade all over my lid. I would put a few of these in the crease really lazily, kind of like what I do now. And I would take this one, which this shade Funny Girl is like still one of my favorite shimmers. It's just so pretty and like, yeah, it just packs such a nice punch on the eye. It's like a really nice eyelid shade. So this is definitely, while again, newer, this is still like the most consistently old palette I have in my collection. The only one I have that's kind of still on this level of olds, because I finally just got rid of my Urban Decay Naked palette because I had to, it was gross. And I got rid of my Anastasia Modern Renaissance, which were some of my first. But I will say the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, I do also still have kind of honorable mention because that one is old and it still works pretty well actually. To Too Faced credit, it actually still works really well, and I also got that in 2016, and I will also never forget buying that palette because I loved it and I still like it, but obviously these two are like, those are like my oldies, you know. Okay, next was my most expensive palette. So I do have the Natasha Denona Gold palette, and obviously I have the Pat McGrath palettes, and I also have the Mothership 5. However, I decided that I was gonna pick this for most expensive because if I remember correctly, I paid expedited shipping so I could do a review on this palette, and then there was some drama with Makeup Geek, and then I couldn't do the review. So I believe with expedited shipping, this is my most expensive palette. Everything's good with Makeup Geek now, I just want to preface that. But at the time, it was like, I can't just do this right now. This is their Matrix palette. It's actually a bunch of singles, and it looks like this. I tried to arrange them to be exactly like the picture online, but some of the undertones are very similar and hard to show online. So I kind of just did the best I could with this, but I think I did well because I loved the way they had it arranged on the website. I thought it looked so cool. I actually really like this palette. Interestingly enough, I use it a lot. I will say I'm not very impressed by the shimmer shades in this palette, which for being, I believe it was like $140 after shipping, for being that expensive, I definitely would have preferred the shimmers to pack a little bit more of a punch. They're kind of muted and just not anything super special. You can kind of see the shimmers there. Like they're pretty and reflective. Also, these lights are very forgiving. Like they make everything really pop, but they're pretty. They're a little powdery for my taste, and I also think they don't have as much of a like as I love, but I'm very picky about my glitters. I really love like shimmer shades and glitter shades. I will say though, the mattes in this palette are fantastic. I think if I could go back in time, I would probably make a smaller version of this palette and would just really make like this quadrant right here. Like these, quadrant's not the right word. These 9 shadows right here. This is probably what I would make my ideal palette with from Makeup Geek, and I would just kind of exclude the shimmers because I could pull shimmers from other palettes. This quadrant is, I don't know why I keep calling it a quadrant. This set of shades is definitely my most used and definitely the ones that I gravitate towards. I do like these purples, but this is like my wheelhouse right here. I know these are sold out and I don't know if they're coming back with them. I don't know if I would ever recommend buying the gigantic palettes from them. I would honestly just recommend creating your own palette, but since I'd never tried the formula before, I am glad that I got like the big one and have a really good idea now of how all of their shades kind of work. Going off of that, my cheapest palette, which is a ColourPop palette. I am claiming this is cheapest because I'm pretty sure I got it for like $9. I know these retail for, I believe, $12 to $15. I'll put it up on the screen. I can never remember. But I did get this on sale, I believe, for like $9.30. This is their Smoke Show palette. I love this palette. I absolutely love it. And it's really for the shade Starstruck, this silver. Are you kidding me? Is this a joke? Look at this freaking silver! I am not a big smoky eye person. I just think I look dumb. It's really like, whenever I wear smoky makeup, I just always look in the mirror and I'm like, you are such a fraud. Like, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that way, but I can't do the too smoky makeup. However, when I use this palette, I actually end up loving how my look turns out. I find that the actual matte black, this Let's Do It, really easy to work with. It's like a really nice black because it's not too pigmented, but it's also not no pigment, and it also doesn't turn blue. I hate blacks that turn blue. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves. I find the gray is really easy to blend. I do do hate this shade here, Night Dream. This one, it's like a black with shimmer in it. And I just, like, personal pet peeve, hate blacks with shimmers in them. I don't understand the point, I don't understand the purpose, and I don't understand why they exist. I really dislike them. So this shade right here, not the biggest fan of. However, all of the other ones I really like, and especially this middle silver is like perfection. It's such a good shade. The next is my Everyday palette, and this changes a lot. Just any given time, this could definitely change. I kind of change up my everyday palette. I really use a different palette every day, if I'm being honest. It's very rare that I use the same palette every single day, but as of late, this palette has definitely been my like, oh, I'm in a hurry and I need to just do something. It's this palette. This is the Artist Couture Supreme Nudes palette. This is relatively new, and when it came out, I talked about it in a Yas or Pass because I was like, you know, it's very neutral, and normally I don't love that because I have neutrals. So many freaking brown shades in my collection. But I liked this palette in particular because I liked that it had these more mustard tones, and I liked that it had these greens and this really beautiful golds. So I actually was really drawn to this palette, and I ended up getting it. And I've never tried anything from Artist Couture before, so I was really, I think I'm gonna change my mind on that. I think I had highlighter from them that I got in a BoxyCharm that I never used and gave away. So I technically have had something from Artist Couture, but I didn't use it. I think this palette is actually really great for everyday usage. You can see it's this white shade I really love. It's such a good base. But I think it's actually really great for everyday usage. You can do a really easy, warm toned-ish, but more neutral look. I like that you can add this green as kind of something a little bit different for a neutral look, which is what I often do. I'll go for this green shade and just put it on the lid with like kind of brown in the outer corner smudged around, and it ends up looking really pretty. I have brown eyes, so I find that the green kind of pops with them a little bit. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's what I think. I also love this gold shade, Opulence. I think it's so pretty. It is a little bit chunkier, so you definitely have to be a little careful with it. But my goodness, is that just a bronze, like bronzed belle, beautiful. I was a little nervous when I bought it because I was like, okay, you do have neutral palettes, like is this gonna get lost in your collection? But I find that it kind of stands on its own because it's easy to use, the formula is really nice. I enjoy this. I'm happy I bought that. My most colorful palette, my Colored Rain Vivid Pigments palette. Hello. This is my Colored Rain Vivid Pigments palette. If you've ever watched any of my declutters or like my palette collection videos, I freaking love this palette. So this is what she looks like. Originally they sold these as singles and then they put it in a palette, and I know some people were kind of mad about that, which I kind of think they should have kept it as singles, but whatever. I prefer palettes, but I get why other people prefer singles. So, but she looks like this. The one thing I will say, I just wish that these two shades weren't here. I don't understand why they felt the need to put in a brown color, because nothing about anything else in this look is gonna make me ever reach for like a light brown. It's not even like a dark brown that you can darken things with. It's like a light kind of gross brown. And I also think this shade Sauce, I would have preferred if it was a bright fire engine red. Like that would have been the dream, I think. However, despite those two shades not being my favorite, the formula on this is the best colored eyeshadows I've ever used ever. And I've owned a lot of colorful eyeshadow palettes. I love this row of purples. This yellow lemon drop is unreal. Like if you love yellows, this is for you. I also love the rose of blues, the pinks, and the orange. One thing I will say is this does stain your eyes, but I don't care about that. I just feel like it's important to note because a lot of people do care. I personally think this is one of Colored Rain's best palettes. We're gonna get to the other one that I love too. I really love Colored Rain. This is always my suggestion. I will say, if you are kind of a beginner to color, I would not recommend this, just because it's so pigmented and it's kind of difficult to blend because of how pigmented it is. So I would say if you're new to color, buy a palette that has a little bit less pigmentation right off the bat so you can build it up instead of having all of this color on your eye at once and then having no way to know where to go with it. Does that make sense? Right when I was starting in makeup, it would have been a mess. And also it still is a mess sometimes. So I think kind of you need a little bit more experience with colorful eyeshadows before you grab this, but I think this is an amazing palette. Our smallest palette. I don't have a lot of small palettes actually. I'm not the biggest like itty bitty palette person. I like mid-size, I would say, palettes, but I do love this one. This is from Midas, so use code SMOKYGLOW for 20% off your purchase. Such a guru. No, this is the Midas.
I can pull it together.
This is the Midas Cosmetics Quad in Macchia.
The number you have dialed
I'm fine. This is the Midas Cosmetics quad in a macchiato. This is from their coffee collection. I had all of the quads from the coffee collection at one point, slowly kind of decluttered them because I liked them, but this one was my absolute, by far, like the front runner for me. I brought this with me to Europe. I really, really love how simple it is to create a look. I will say with this palette, it's obviously not my most diverse. I kind of have one basic look that I do with this, which is this in the crease, this in the outer corner, this on the lid, and this on the lower lash line, but I love that look. It's really itty bitty. It takes a lot for itty bitty palettes to be able to thrive in my collection because I just, again, I prefer options. So the fact that I have used this so much and pulled for it so much, I think says a lot about how much I like the color scheme. So yeah, my little itty bitty. Next is my biggest palette, and for that we have this. So this is the P. Louise Secret Sinner palette. I actually just recently talked about this in a packaging I hate video, so I won't dwell on it for too long. But this bad boy is freaking huge. Okay, it does, it's so unnecessary. Like, it's truly just the most unnecessary packaging you could ever think of. It's so thick in a bad way. Normally we love thick, like we love a thick queen, but this is thick in a bad way. It's, again, like, where are my books? I have textbooks that are thinner than this, and that doesn't seem okay to me. I love the shades, and that's why I keep it, because I truly do love this color story, and I also love the formula. These pinks and purples are really unmatched. The neutrals are just like meh, but these pinks and purples are stunning. They're so pretty. I paired this with my Kaja bento boxes, and it's like a freaking dream come true. So I do love this palette. However, the packaging drives me up a wall. Why did you need a glass enclosure for a feather? It's not even something fun. Like, it would be kind of fun if it had like beads and I could move it around and it was like interactive, because then it would feel like it had a purpose. But a freaking feather? It's just two feathers with gold back. Why? Why? I'm getting off my soapbox, but I have a bone to pick with P. Louise because that doesn't make any sense. The next one is the palette with the best memories. I promise I'm not going to shell for too long, but I very obviously had to pick the Smoky Glow palette. I feel like I would be just lying. I try not to use this in palette videos and like videos where I talk about makeup too much because I don't want to seem like I'm like shoving it down people's throats. Literally never my intention. But this is obviously my palette, but I love, love, love this palette. This is what I created with Midas Cosmetics all last year, and it launched early this year. I believe we're sold out right now. Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure we're sold out. So we are going to be restocking again though. For those of you that haven't had a chance to get it, I know a lot of you wanted to know if it was going to be restocked when things with COVID kind of started slowing down, and it is going to be restocked. But this palette just has so many fun memories. From the fact that the shade Colleague is still spelled wrong, still a classic. No, I think this is a really fun palette, and when I look at it, I get really emotional every time I look at it and every time I use it, just because it has so many memories. Not only just the process of like picking everything and creating it, but just the process of the launch happening, the support that I got behind it, the love that I received from you guys watching all of the review videos, like everything about that has been so magical and awesome and like the best memories. So obviously I wanted to talk about this, but yeah, this is my best, my little memories. I'm keeping this for the rest of my life, and I have one in this box right here that is perfectly preserved and has never been opened, and I will save that for my grandkids. So next is a palette that is worth the hype. The Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette. I feel like this was very hyped up a while ago, and it's not as much talked about anymore, but I think a lot of people were like, okay, it's expensive. It's like 50 bucks. Like, is it worth the hype? Even I was kind of like that, and it was sold out for like forever. I remember I couldn't get a hold of this palette because I believe Kathleen Lights like raved about it, and then it was sold out, and then I couldn't get it, and it was frustrating. But this to this day is still one of my all-time favorite palettes. I would say it's probably my favorite palette. The shimmers in here are just still like, it's unreal, the shimmers. Let me do this purple one too. Like unreal, the shimmers in here, and the mattes especially just blend like a dream. This is still one of my all-time favorite warm toned eyeshadow palettes. If I had to pick this over like my Anastasia Modern Renaissance, I would pick this every day of the week. I actually did a video, I believe it was last year, where I ranked all of my eyeshadow palettes, and this was number one. This beat out it just breaks. Like my favorite palette. This was number one, and it actually beat out every other palette that I own. And I think it probably would still be, I can't think of one off the top of my head that would beat it, but I think if it wasn't number one, it would be number 2 or 3. This is still one of my favorite palettes. I think it was absolutely worth all of the hype that it got. I think it was absolutely worth the wait that it took because it was sold out for so long. I don't know if this is still in stock, but if it is, I'll link it. This is absolutely, if you're looking for like a warm toned purpley dream with like these amazing shimmers, this is your girl. Colored Rain recently has been doing a lot more sales too. So I know a lot of times this palette goes on sale for like $25, which I think is a lot more affordable, obviously, than $50 if you're on a budget. I would just wait for one of those sales to happen. If you follow them on like Twitter or social media, they post like sale things that happen all the time. So this, absolutely worth the hype that it was given. I think this is an amazing, amazing, amazing palette. I wish I'd kept the little sleeve it came in because the packaging on the outside is kind of boring, but it comes in this like beautiful sleeve. Palette that was not worth the hype. That has to go to this. This is the Too Faced Gingerbread palette. Even I have gone back and forth on this. I think for a while I wanted to believe that this was worth the hype, purely because I wasn't going to buy it. I anti-hauled it. I was like, we're not buying it, not today. And then this is like such an annoying story of how I got this palette because I bought it for somebody else, but then I wanted to keep it because I'm a brat. And then I was and then I bought the other person something else, and then something else happened, whatever. I got this palette, basically, I ended up getting it, even though I anti-hauled it, and I was brutal in my anti-haul. I was like, this palette sucks, you don't need it, it's just Too Faced being gimmicky, and then I fell for the freaking gimmick. 2018 was like a nutty year. But I will say, this palette, not worth the hype. I'm sorry, it's not. The one shade that I feel like is redeeming for this palette is the shade Spiked Eggnog, which is just a really gorgeous sort of like, it's right here in between. I'm running out of room. It's this really pretty like goldy white shade that I actually use a ton. However, the rest of the palette is just kind of so-so. It's subpar. Basically everything I said about it in my anti-haul is exactly how I feel about it now. So I should have listened to myself. I will say I feel like this was so hyped up because of the really cutesy packaging, and then everybody kind of was like, oh, it's so worth it because it's so cute, and like these sold out, and then I remember they randomly restocked them in June of 2019. Was that a fever dream, or did they restock these in 2019 after being sold out during the holiday season? They weren't even available by like November. All of them were gone out of all the stores. You couldn't even buy it at Christmas time. I don't know. Was not worth the hype in my personal opinion. Don't think this palette was worth it. This next one I think is like a little bit of a point of contention. I have always said on this channel that Anastasia Beverly Hills is my favorite brand, and I don't know if I stand by that anymore. Like, I don't know if they're still my favorite brand, but when I think who's your favorite makeup brand, it's still ABH. And that's really just because, not because of anything Norvina is doing with the Norvina line. It had everything to do with the actual Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, because the OGs that I'm about to show you, I still am like ride or die for these palettes. Like, I love them so much. So my favorite palette for my favorite brand, although I'm not sure if it's my favorite brand anymore, I really love Fenty, but I don't have any eyeshadow palettes from them, is the Sultry palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is absolutely my favorite palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. The shimmers. I've said the word shimmer like a bajillion times, and I know you're probably sick of it, but the shimmers in this palette are amazing. They're so good. Like, truly such good shimmers. I can't express enough how much I love the shimmers in this palette, how pretty I feel when I wear the shimmers. I don't normally rock grays and like these more cool toned whites and taupes. However, this palette in general is like unreal to me. I've praised this palette so many times. I know a few of you have actually bought it because of me, because I've praised it so many times, but truly out of all of the Anastasia palettes, from the freaking Makeup by Mario palette all the way to now, like, this is definitely my favorite Anastasia palette. Shimmers are just unreal. They're so sparkly. They're like pixie dust on your eyes, like so pretty. And the mattes are that Anastasia like formula, that modern Renaissance formula that I just absolutely love. I know some people don't like it. I know some people think it's too powdery and like weird. I personally love the formula. So yeah. Oh, I love this. And it's the sparkly packaging. I love it. Finally, we have my most used palette, and this is also from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this is the Soft Glam palette. I think the main reason this has become my most used is because I grab for this when I don't know what to do, which is a lot of times. And I also travel with this. This is pretty much my go-to sort of travel palette. I love this palette, like a lot. It's got so many beautiful shades in it. I don't love the shimmers in this palette as much as I love the Sultry palette. However, this has a lot more mattes and it's a lot more wearable for every day, and also really good for nighttime looks, like if I'm going out on the town, which doesn't happen anymore. But I could also wear this like, I don't know, somewhere wholesome. It's a good everyday palette that you can also spice up for nighttime. And this shade Cypress Umber is my favorite dark brown of all time. I love this. I believe they have this in the Modern Renaissance palette, and I believe I hit pan on it because I love this for deepening up looks. I think it is the perfect shade to deepen up like a nice warm tone, smoky eye. I love it. I don't really use the black at all though. I don't like blacks. They freak me out. All right, well, I just talked for way too long. What else is new? So I hope you liked this video. I hope it was fun for you to watch. I hope it was entertaining for you to watch. If you would like to do this tag, boop, I tagged you. Thank you again to Allie Glines and Samantha March and Teresa's Dead. Teresa showed me it, Allie and Samantha made it. Thank you for making such a fun tag. I think this is really cool, and I love doing tags. They're so fun. I love you guys so much. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or just like, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face will be linked down below, along with the absolute most important thing in my description box, which is a link to register to vote. I would love it if you were to click on that link, you were to register to vote, and you were able to become an active part in your democracy, because it's very, very important and crucial now more than ever. If you're not from the United States, that link does not apply to you. Please make sure to stay informed, use your voice in a positive way. Along with my link to register to vote, I'm also going to have just a range of links and education basically in my description box from now on. They're going to range from mental health information, which I've always had in my description box, to up-to-date COVID information, to also just up-to-date kind of petitions that are being circulated and pushed. You know, check in there every once in a while if you want to know kind of what's happening, where you could use your voice in a way that would matter and make a difference. I'm going to be updating that part of the description box as much as I can to kind of put different things that I think maybe could use a little bit of like a spotlight on them. So check that out. I love you guys so much. This outro will just keep getting longer and longer until only my video is outro. And I'm okay with that. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!